I think my favorite story of all time is Lord of the Flies. But this video is not about that. It's about desert island stories and why I think we connect with those sort of very well. I mean, you look at the popularity of shows like Lost and Survivor and Gilligan's Island even. And there's something that I think draws us to those types of stories where we take people who are in a civilization and we remove them from civilization, or we take civilization out of them, I guess, and we isolate them and we remove those social constructs, those social boundaries that we typically have, and we require these people to, for the most part, to create new ones for themselves. And so I think that's why we're so drawn to these types of stories. I think typically with shows like Lost or Survivor, we tend to gravitate towards one character that we can relate to. You know, one character that we somehow connect with. But I think in Lord of the Flies, the way that it's sort of written, it's very difficult, I think, to connect to one particular character. We connect to a lot of the characters, and I think there's a little part of us that connects to all of them, whether or not we want to admit that. And so that's what this video is about. It's about the way that we connect to the characters in Lord of the Flies, and maybe through that I can kind of demonstrate why it's my favorite story. So first, let's start with Ralph, right? Ralph is the good guy. He's the good boy that we, I think, all strive to be. He is the leader, and I think in all of us there is a part of us that is a leader too, and he wants order, and more importantly, he wants to be rescued. But I think also too, with Ralph, we connect to the frustration that sometimes people don't understand what we're trying to do. You know, like we have this idea in our mind that is seemingly going to save everyone, but no one seems to get it, and they don't want to listen. And I think that's where, you know, we can look at Ralph and be like, oh yeah, I totally understand how he feels, especially as things are dismantling around him. And then there's the less popular Piggy, who really is sort of looked down upon for most of the story. And I would say I don't want to associate with that character because he's typically weak. But there's also that weakness in all of us. You know, for Piggy, he actually does have value. He has a moment in time where he does provide value for the whole island. He is the maker of fire in a way, because his glasses are that source of fire. But he also has weaknesses where his asthma kind of holds him back. And I think that there are things too that also hold us back, where we can't escape those types of things. And I think what's worse, where we don't want to relate to Piggy, is the fact that sometimes we may feel like those weaknesses can isolate us from other people. And Piggy has been isolated several times. And I think one of those times where it stands out is when everyone goes off to, or all the big boys go off to explore, and he's sort of left behind to watch the little boys. And then there's Jack. Jack is so passionate. He's strong. He has great leadership skills. We all want that. You know, we all want those positive attributes, but there's also that element in us that is rebellious, where we just want things our way, and we don't care. If we don't get our way, we're just gonna go ahead and leave, because we don't need that, right? We don't need that from other people. And so Jack represents jealousy and pride and those sort of negative emotions that if we don't address them, they can sort of overtake us and ultimately lead to destruction. And then there's Simon, who represents the spiritual part of us, which is very different from the religious thing. There I think is a part of us that strives for some spirituality in our lives. And I think that's what Simon represents, and that's what we can connect to when we encounter a character like Simon. He is somewhat of a loner, you know, but it's sort of a loner by choice. And what impresses me so much about Simon, even though he does get killed, is that he's always seeking the truth. You know, Simon is not afraid to investigate for himself and to face some of these fears that the other boys aren't willing to encounter. They're just sort of buying into whatever happens. But for Simon, it's almost like his mission to find out what the truth is and to share that truth with other people. And so I hope that you can kind of see how with Lord of the Flies, we can connect to these characters unlike any other TV show that there is that is sort of revolving around this desert island, sort of isolation, removal of social constructs type of environment. You know, we have the opportunity to get to know these boys, and hopefully as you sort of read the story, you can kind of make these smaller connections, and they can happen at different times in the story. I mean, obviously, we don't know about Jack until later on and how wild and out of control he can get. We don't know about the spiritual quest that Simon will be on eventually. I mean, we do get an inkling of how Ralph and Piggy will sort of be, but I like that it's a gradual connection and that we're able to, as readers, over time connect with the different characters so that it's not so overwhelming in the beginning, and sort of we just have like these chains of connection where maybe we connect to one character for a certain part of the story, and then a new character or new attributes of the character are introduced, and then from there we can connect to them and then connect to another character and another character. And so I think it's part of those complexities that is the reason why I like Lord of the Flies. It's a very short novel, which I like that too, but just the way that characters are connectable, they're just so relatable, and it's the attributes of these characters that I think can apply to all of us. So hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye.